Would Disney possibly sell Star Wars off? Would Kathleen Kennedy step down as president of Lucasfilm, or would they not renew her contract next year? And Hayden Christensen's now being rumored to come back into Star Wars. How does that play into this whole thing? We're going to talk about that coming up. Guys, Final Death Star here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that little subscribe button. I am at 499 subscribers. You could be the lucky number 500. All you have to do is click that button, and you'll make me very happy. So I appreciate it if you have already subscribed. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so here's the news with Star Wars right now, and Disney and Lucasfilm. There's kind of a lot of stories floating around. We've heard that there's this battle inside Lucasfilm, this civil war between Kathleen Kennedy and her camp and Jon Favreau and his camp. And then you've got talk of Jon Favreau as, possibly a replacement for Kathleen Kennedy. And, he's come out and said things against Last Jedi, very good things that, a lot of us agree with. And it's nice to hear someone inside Lucasfilm actually saying, it wasn't a great film. It was really bad and it screwed everything up. Some of that was maybe embellished on my part, but that's the gist of it. So here we go. Now this is, I'm going to start with an article here from Bleeding Fool. I actually technically have two articles. I'm going to try to cram them together here. So this is the first one. This is coming from Bleeding Fool, and it says, COVID-19, the beer bug, backlash. Will Disney be forced to sell off Star Wars? Or possibly, something other than Star Wars, or Star Wars and something. It's kind of crazy. They're in bad shape. That's what Disney Insider WDW's Pro's latest information dump makes possible if it's true. Essentially, COVID has Disney so strapped for cash, some are speculating that it may have to sell assets, including ESPN, A&E, History Channel, Tron, or perhaps even Star Wars. Now, would that ever happen? Could they possibly let that go? Would they let that happen? I mean, they'd have to be so desperate. I can't imagine Bob Iger would ever. I mean, this would have to be a last-ditch effort to keep Disney afloat to sell off Star Wars. But crazier things have happened. Crazier things are happening in the world right now. So, who knows? Let me preface this by saying I know much more than I'm going to say in this thread. That's just the way it's going to have to be in order to protect sources, prevent doxing, and keep jobs safe. Additionally, it lets those sharing info with me know that if there's something that needs to be off the record, it'll stay off the record. So the writer of this is saying that he knows more, he or she, not sure. Oh, it's Ichibaka. Hail Ichibaka. Okay, so Ichi knows a little more than he's letting on here. So, what could that be? I don't know, Itchy. Tell us. Let us know. Come on TR4 and let us know. The Disney company is currently hurrying for cash, not by a little, but by a lot. The absolute destruction of the global film industry means that Disney's losing billions and billions of usual expected revenues with no certain end in sight. Mulan has been pushed to the end of August, but even that still seems optimistic, and likely box office reviews may be as low as 20% of what it could have been. The burgeoning Cold War with China likewise makes promoting the film an uncertain formula. The MCU is currently benched, live-action Star Wars is on pause, Indiana Jones 5 is more unlikely daily, and there's simply no good path forward outside of animation studios. Furthering the dearth of income, Disneyland was prepared to reopen at great expense, only to be indefinitely postponed yet again, because California shut down again. The money to reopen Walt Disney World has been immense, but with increasing COVID infections in Florida, it seems more and more likely that increasing capacity will be a slow process, which means revenues for Walt Disney World will be lower than projected when the rush was approved to get the parks open so fast. Adding to this, CAPEX projects needing completing at Walt Disney World are substantial, more than ever in the past decade. Conflict has broken out inside Disney's top levels, with some pushing for continued spending in new projects, such as Splash Mountain, reskinning Splash Mountain because, like everything, it's problematic. I don't even know. I think it's something to do with the song. I'm not even sure, but yeah, it's Splash Mountain's problematic now, while others are extremely bearish with a view that Disney should hold every possible dollar. It is from within this paradigm that Disney's now struggling with public messaging not matching internal capabilities. For example, Splash Mountain changes were announced with little design ready to implement. Yeah, because it was cancel culture thing is so forced on them somehow that of course they're not ready. They don't have any plan to implement that. They never thought that would be a possibility. Based off of a blue sky design that had a concept art package quickly produced for social media advertising. Just one problem: the actuaries were not approached, nor were budgets forecast for the changes. Because again, this was very sudden. It was put on them suddenly. They weren't expecting it. In fact, you might say a rogue committee approved the decision without determining the cost or feasibility. Leadership at Disney is sorely lacking. And then the company realizes the issue after its public announcement. Oh, it's a mess. Who's running the show? Who's steering the ship here? So what to do? As of now, the plan is quickly change the DLR version, where it is more likely to be received positively, then use Epcot funds that would have gone to Mary Poppins to change the Walt Disney World version starting in 2022 or 2023. However, hopes that Disney can plus the attraction are difficult to materialize, with Imagineering already completely flummoxed how they can possibly reskin many dozens of animatronics in a crown jewel attraction. Oh my gosh, sounds like a nightmare. One Imaginer has compared the task to re-theming Pirates of the Caribbean to a Jungle Book ride. Oh, please don't do that. Yet more attractions are likely to be modified, budgets be damned. This has created friction all the way over, all the way to the Bobs, with Iger doing everything he can to save his legacy, while Chapek tries not to be the fall guy. I'm sorry, Bob Chapek, you are the fall guy here. I think it's gonna. I think that's why you were put in charge. While looking at a company in dire financial straits, whereas Chapek wanted to spend the capital necessary to retrofit MK for a pandemic and then slowly open other parks as demand for money permitted. Iger overruled the plan and pushed for a full reopening to prevent Universal from getting the upper hand. Now the company has greater inner turmoil than at any point in the recent past. Spending is continuing in spite of depression-like revenue projected for the remainder of the year, and often on new projects of a social nature. Changes are coming to the Hall of Presidents. They're going to take out all the presidents. Jungle Cruise, Country Bears, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Carousel of Progress. Oh my goodness. Is this all because cancel culture? Why are they changing all these rides? This is crazy. They're bankrupt. They have no revenue, and they're being forced to change all this. This is coming from one of two factions in the company who share overlap. Other factions are scared this company is stretched thin and needs to hold spending as much as possible. Fear also exists that in relations with China deteriorate, the company could lose both Shanghai and Hong Kong. Not since World War II has uncertainty been so high. The cost of maintaining parks during a pandemic are significantly higher, yet raising ticket prices is nearly impossible because everyone's broke because no one can work. Going forward, what does it mean? What does this mean going forward? Epcot changes are likely to be much less than originally planned. Layoffs are coming. Announced additions on very long timelines. Disney World having to close again would be devastating. OLC and Disney relations are strained. Expect that to manifest in visible ways. Every penny counts, and cost-cutting measures can be expected within 12 months. Is Chapek the fall guy? Many are speculating Iger plans to use him as a scapegoat. And the 50th celebration is essentially canceled down to only the things that cost very little. No new floats, no big refurbs. It's a mess at Disney. My goodness, there's not any good news there. Wow, I don't even know what to say. So that brings me into this next topic. Disney ignoring Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy gone by 2022. Could this be, maybe Star Wars is going to be gone by 2022. I don't know. But could this be something, would they save money on getting rid of her depending on who they hired to replace her? This is coming from comicbook.news. Following rumors that Disney is going to reset Star Wars and erase the sequel trilogy, now it is claimed that The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Skywalker will be ignored, and again, the Kathleen Kennedy will be gone by 2022. Grace Randolph posted what she knows about Disney Star Wars recently on Twitter and on her YouTube channel in regards to the recent claims made by Doomcock, Lord Doomcock. Doomcock on YouTube has claimed that Star Wars Civil War is taking place within Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy and those loyal to George Lucas, who would also be, I think, the Jon Favreau camp. With it said, a plan is in place to reset Disney Star Wars and use a concept called the Veil of the Force to erase The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker from canon by making them a part of the Star Wars multiverse. So what does that mean? I think the Veil of the Force, that's the world between worlds that was introduced in Rebels, where Ezra basically goes through time and saves Ahsoka from dying, changing the timeline, which means if they did it then, they could do it again and, reset all this stuff. So it's a possibility here, but that's what, that Doomcock has been saying that is something he's heard that they're thinking or considering or going with. I think depending on who wins the Civil War, if Kathleen's forced to step down, that'll really say something, though. Doomcock has also put it forth that the head of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, will be stepping down, as the YouTuber reported Kennedy has decided she will not be pursuing an extension of her contract. But Randolph is stating that is not exactly the case, as apparently her contract won't be renewed by Disney, which sounds like a mutual decision on the parts of both Disney and Kennedy. All right, so the rest of the article is going to be here. I'll let you read it. It pretty much just talks about how the industry works and that, she wouldn't be fired because of the PR stuff. It wouldn't look good for Disney to fire her. So her contract would just not be renewed. Now, whether that's a mutual agreement, I don't know. That's another discussion, but nevertheless, that's the story there. So could this all be connected? Now we've heard rumors that Hayden Christensen might be coming back to reprise his role as Anakin Skywalker in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Here's what I kind of basically think. I think Disney's strapped for cash. I think they made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of it was their own fault. They could have had a much better Star Wars theme park that brought in a lot of revenue, but they didn't. They decided, Iger decided to change the whole theme from the OT to the sequel trilogy, the Disney trilogy, and that wasn't a good decision. It lost them a lot of money, and it made fans very unhappy. We've already been unhappy with the Disney, what we had seen with Force Awakens, certainly with Last Jedi, that really broke the fandom. And then you got this theme park that they decide to rebrand from the OT original trilogy to the Disney trilogy. Not a good idea. So they made a mistake there. They made a mistake attacking fans. They made a mistake with allowing these things to continue into Rise of Skywalker. It was just a lot of things that they kind of brought upon themselves. And now I think, if Favreau's trying to take control here, if Disney is strapped for cash, I think they're trying to look at this and say, okay, we have to give the fans what they want because they're not buying anything. They're not buying the merchandise. They're not buying the DVD or the Blu-rays or DVDs or digital downloads. You can choose, take your pick. They're just not buying. They're not spending money on our stuff, and maybe they're thinking of rebranding here. They got to go a different direction. So, hey, let's erase the Disney trilogy. Let's just pretend like it didn't happen. Let's bring Hayden Christensen back. Where was he in Rise of Skywalker? Why wasn't he in that film? He should have been in there, but he wasn't. So now they're trying to bring him into Obi-Wan, and hopefully, that'll fix things. And I don't know how I feel about Obi-Wan. I guess it depends who's in charge, If it's Favreau that's going to take over, yeah, I have faith in Deborah Chow's the director of the whole series. She directed the two best, in my opinion, my two favorite Mandalorian episodes. So I have some hope there that she's in charge of Obi-Wan, and if it just depends. If Kathleen Kennedy's running it, I'm very skeptical. If she steps down, or if her contract's not renewed and Favreau comes in and takes over, then I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan. It just depends on how that's all handled. So I think there's probably a little bit of truth to the fact that Disney is bleeding money and they're looking for ways to get revenue quick, and I think a lot of this, they can't do anything about the shutdowns right now, so I think they're trying to just build anticipation. I think that's why these rumors are kind of leaking about there's a Civil War at Lucasfilm. Kathleen Kennedy's contract might not be renewed. We got Obi-Wan coming. We got Obi-Wan still on track. Rian Johnson's, trilogies possibly no more. We've heard that slip out. And now Hayden Christensen's coming back. They're trying to entice the fans. They're trying to build some kind of anticipation to get that revenue because, I think they are in trouble. So some of it's their own fault, some of it's out of their hands, but, it could have been a much different situation had they made different choices earlier on with Star Wars and the theme parks and renewing Kathleen Kennedy's contract the second time. Apparently, no one else wanted to take over, so they just renewed her contract. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. So let me know what you guys think of all this. I'll keep following it and seeing what develops of this in the weeks to come. But till then, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.